Shalom. This is Deacon DeForest Smith with the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel and the King James Bible University. And today's teaching is titled, Find Correction Before Destruction. Our carnal minds have transgressed and committed iniquity against our Creator, Lord. But now it is time to find the correction through the book of remembrance. Isaiah 34:16. Isaiah 34:16. Seek ye out of the book of the Spirit of God and read, and no one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it have commanded, and his spirit it have gathered them. So we see that we must seek out of the one book, out of the book of the Spirit of God. So if we using other books, we're in error, because this one book shall not fail, but those other books are in error and they're making you fail. So we should not make any other books, concordances, or anything like that, outside sources to this one book of remembrance. We must search out that one book and use the precepts given to find our answers and corrections to our errors. While we diligently study through precepts commanding by the voice of Jehovah and through his way, his name, we can find the errors we were taught by the traditions and precepts of men. Cast off pride and arrogance and the teachings of vanity, which will destroy us if we keep learning of idols and abominations of the wicked. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 20 through 23, 25 through 27, and 29 through 33. Verse 20 of Proverbs chapter 1. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn ye at my reproof. Behold, remember, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. So we have no excuse. We got to find these words, seek out these words, and search the book of remembrance to find that reproof. Verse 25, but ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. So this is the other side of the plumb line, the mixed multitude. There's some that's going to be in that pride and arrogancy, and they're going to think that they have it all right, correct, and that's going on in this book. And they think they have the truth. So they're going to set at naught the counsels of wisdom that is given through the precepts. And they're going to use exegesis and other theology methods to teach out of this book. Verse 26. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. And these are this is the outcome of turning away from the reproof and not getting the correction. This is part of the destruction. Verse 29, for that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Spirit of God. They were none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they learn of the fruit of their own way, which will send you astray and send you out of the way of that narrow and straight path that is set in the way of Jehovah, of salvation, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely and shall be quiet from fear of evil. So those prosperity of fools are those that's in the world. And we need to be corrected and turned away from the world to come out of it, out of the world and unto our Creator, into the covenant of peace and of wisdom. Um, Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 19 through 23. 19 and 23. Thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backslidings shall reprove thee. Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Spirit of God thy guide, and that my fear, my desire is not in thee, says the Creator, um, thy guide of hosts. Verse 23. How canst thou say, I am not polluted? I have not gone after Balaam. See thy way in the valley. Know what thou hast done. Thou art a swift dromedary traversing her ways. So we've all gone after Balaam. These holidays, Christmas, these religions, things that are set up for you to idolize while in this captivity. And we are polluted by those things and we have erred by those things. So we must find that correction through the scriptures, but some will not find the correction needed to come out of the destruction, and they will be destroyed with the world, doing the things of this world and having the carnal mind of the world. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 12 through 14, 16, 20 through 21, and 24 through 25. And the Spirit of God said unto me, Arise, get thee down quickly from hence, for thy people which thou hast brought forth out of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They are quickly turned aside out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten image. So it's nothing new under the sun, and we do this still today. Gone out of the way, turn aside out of the way of the commandments which was given as a heritage to us as a people, a nation of people. And we've picked up traditions and the heritage of others, the nations that are round about us. And we calling their gods our gods. Furthermore, this verse 13, furthermore, the Spirit of God spake unto me, saying, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Let me alone that I may destroy them and blot out their name from under heaven, and I will make of thee a nation mightier and greater than they. And verse 16, and I looked and remembered, behold, ye had sinned against the Spirit of God your guide, and had made you a molten calf. Ye had turned aside quickly out of the way which the Spirit of God had commanded you. Verse 20, and the Spirit of God was very angry with Aaron to have destroyed him. And I prayed for Aaron also the same time. So if Yahweh wanted to destroy Aaron, he wants to destroy us also for being an abomination and doing idolatry when we know better. And I took your sin, the calf which you have made, and burnt it with fire, and stamped it, and ground it very small, even until it was as small as dust. And I cast the dust thereof into the brook that descended out of the mount. So we must find that correction and get those idols out of our houses and destroy those things out of our minds, circumcise our hearts, and become a humble servant, willing to do what is required of us in the word through the precepts given. Verse 24, ye have been rebellious against the Spirit of God from the day that I knew you. Thus I fell down before the Spirit of God 40 days and 40 nights, as I fell down at the first, because the Spirit of God had said he would destroy you. And he's not playing. He's not, he won't lie, and he won't change. We don't get it right, he's going to destroy us. We don't get the correction, we will find destruction. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23 through 24. O Spirit of God, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man, the female or male, that walketh to direct his steps, because we blind and we can't find our steps. We need a guide. We need that light to guide our path and correct us if we are going off astray onto another path. Find that correction. Verse 24, O Spirit of God, correct me, but with judgment, with teachings and doctrines, not in thine anger, because we see in his anger, he's going to destroy us, lest thou bring me to nothing. Psalms 119 and 104, and this is the correction. Well, we're not leaning to our own understanding, because in man is not in himself to direct his own path. Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. So this will direct our path, leading us to the righteous path and not to the false way of theology and the ways of men, traditions and heritages of men, the doctrines of devils. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16 and 17. All scripture is given by inspiration of Yahweh and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. Verse 17, that the man of Yahweh may be perfect, so that we could be in his image and in his likeness, not in our own, because we are never perfect in the flesh. But through the Spirit, we can be perfect, and we can do all things through Yahweh who strengthened us. Through thoroughly furnished unto all good works. So we're going to have those spiritual fruits in us. John chapter 4, verse 22 through 23. And this is the correction we must make, because we have worshiped idols and worship men and vanity and things of the imagination, the evil imagination of our own hearts. You worship you know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. So we must become, get that correction and become followers of the Spirit of Jehovah and not followers of men. It's verse 23, but the hour cometh and now is that correction, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. So we're going to give reverence to that spirit and not to no man. And we're going to let our lights shine before men so that we can give that correction to those that want to find reproof and want us and are seeking out the truth while in darkness. Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 11. For I am with thee, says the Spirit of God, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So we must circumcise that heart and let Jehovah, the Spirit of God, do his work within us, because we're clean by the word. So that word must reside in us so that we can stay on a faithful path, and we can find that correction and won't be destroyed, because he will not destroy himself because he's perfect. So why would he destroy his spirit that's within you? You can only destroy yourself by casting off that spirit and not getting the reproof or the correction, and staying in your vanity and your minds of carnality. Hosea chapter 4, verse 1, 3, 5 through 6, and 14. Hear the word of the Spirit of God, ye children, ye works of Israel. For the Spirit of God hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of Yahweh in the land. Verse 3, therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. So we see when there's no correction and we're not seeking correction, but we're living in error and we don't have no truth, destruction is bound to happen. Verse 5, therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night, and I will destroy thy mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law, the instruction of thy guide, I will also forget thy children. Verse 14, I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit adultery, for themselves are separated with whores, and they sacrifice with harlots. Therefore the people that doth not understand shall fall. So you better get it while the getting is good, getting that correction, forsaking your own thoughts and your own adulteries, those whores, which is those church buildings and the things that they do commit in those church buildings by worshiping idol gods, committing adultery. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 12 and 13, 12 through 13 and 15. So he will not punish us, but he just gonna let us rot away in our own iniquities. And at the end, we're gonna be destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Because we wasn't attent to his voice. We didn't hearken to the correction. Go and proclaim these words toward the north and say, return, thou backsliding Israel, says the Spirit of God, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you. For I am merciful, says the Spirit of God, and I will not keep anger forever. Verse 13, only acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the Spirit of God thy guide, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, said the Spirit of God. Verse 15, and I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. And this is where the correction is going to come from. So we must acknowledge that we're not perfect and that we have committed iniquity and transgressed in every way against our Creator and against the Spirit of God. And we must find that reproof and that correction through those pastors, which is according to the heart of Yahweh. Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 8, 10 through 11, 13, 15 through 17, and 19 through 20. Be thou instructed, O Jerusalem, lest my soul depart from thee, lest I make thee desolate, a land not inhabited. Verse 10, to whom shall I speak and give warning, that they may hear? Behold, their ear is uncircumcised, and they cannot hearken. Behold, remember, the word of the Spirit of God is unto them a reproach. They have no delight in it. Therefore, I am full of the fury of the Spirit of God. I am weary with holding in. I will pour it out upon the children abroad and upon the assembly of young men together. For even the husband with the wife shall be taken, the age with him that is full of days. Verse 13. For from the least of them even unto the greatest of them, everyone is given to covetousness, and from the prophet even unto the priest, everyone dealeth falsely. So we see we have a corrections that we need to make, and that we're not in the good. We're not blessed and highly favored like they say. But we must get that correction and get that knowledge and wisdom and keep the covenant, do those works, teach the children, the generations to come. Feed your brothers and your sisters, those that lack knowledge and understanding. Verse 15. Were they ashamed when they had committed abomination? Nay, they were not at all ashamed, neither could they blush. Therefore they shall fall among them that fall. At the time that I visit them, they shall be cast down, said the Spirit of God. And these are the people that didn't get the understanding and didn't get the correction. Thus says the Spirit of God, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. So those old paths is in the book of remembrance. It's giving us remembrance of the old paths that was given from the beginning, before we was even born. Ain't nothing new under the sun, so those paths are still there. We must find those markers, seek and search out, dig in the book, in the ground, and find those hidden treasures. But we see some will not walk therein. Some won't do those works because they believe that all you got to do is believe in a man. But we need to find that correction. That correction is in the book. He says he is not good. Only one is good. So why are we calling him God? Verse 17. Also I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. But they said, we will not hearken. Verse 19. Hear, O earth, behold, remember, I will bring evil upon this people, even the fruit of their thoughts, because they have not hearkened unto my words, nor to my law, but rejected it. So you reject him, he's going to reject you from having wisdom, having his spirit, his seed within you, his word. Verse 20, to what purpose cometh there to me incense from Sheba? So he don't want any gifts. He don't want your vain opinions and thoughts. And the sweet cane from my far country. Your burnt offerings, so your living gifts are not acceptable, nor your sacrifices established covenants sweet unto me, because he has already established the old ways, which we must correct ourselves and go find those ways, not find our own ways and come to him. Things of the ground. We will not be accepted like same as Cain was not accepted. First Samuel chapter 15 and 20, verse 22. And Samuel said, have the Spirit of God as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as in obeying the voice of the Spirit of God. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. So this is a correction right here. Those that believe that we must give out physical sacrifices. First Samuel 15:22 is giving us correction on it through the book of remembrance. Proverbs chapter 8, verse 34. Blessed, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is given the man that heareth me. So they'll find that correction. Watching daily at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors. Second Ezra chapter 7, verse 20 through 24. For there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of Yahweh that is set before them. For Yahweh hath given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him, and imagined vain things, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not, and knew not his ways. But his law have they despised, and denied his covenants, and his statutes have they not been faithful, and have not performed his works. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 5 through 11. And that's another thing we must correct. Deceiving ourselves. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, my servants, despise not thou the chastening of the Creator, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him, because he's given us correction so that he won't have to destroy us and so that we won't destroy ourselves. As a father's supposed to, seeing their children doing crazy or weird things because they know that they're a child, they're simple minded. They don't know no better. So he had to send his word, just like our parents gave us knowledge and yelled at us and shouted at us to stop doing what we're doing. He's given us correction through his book of remembrance, his word, his living spirit. Um, Verse 6, for whom the Lord, the Creator, loveth, he chasteneth, and scourges every son of whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, Yahweh dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. So he's going to turn up the temperature more and more on us to give us that correction. If we don't hearken the first time, second time, third time, we're going to keep getting chastised. Furthermore, we have had our we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. And you won't know this unless you hearken unto wisdom. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yielded the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. So we see the spirit is going to profit us. The flesh is not going to profit us. It's going to destroy us. Proverbs chapter 8, verse 1, 4 through 6, 14, 17, 20 through 21, 32 through 33, and 35 through 36. If not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice. Verse 4, unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools be ye of an understanding heart. Hear, for I will speak of excellent things, and the openings of my lips shall be right things. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. Verse 14, I'm sorry. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. Verse 17. I love them, I promise them that promise me, and those that seek me early shall find me. Verse 20. I lead in the way of righteousness, in the midst of the paths of judgment, teachings, and doctrines, that I may cause those that love promise me to inherit substance, and I will fill their treasures. Verse 32. Now therefore hearken unto me, O ye children, for blessed knowledge and wisdom is given are they that keep my ways. Hear instruction, and be wise, and refuse it not. For whoso findeth me findeth life. Verse 35. For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Spirit of God. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All that all they that hate me love death, because we're gonna hate that correction, but we're gonna be destroyed in the era of our lives because we love death. We promise death. Tobit chapter 4, verse 5 through 6. My son, be mindful of the Creator our guide all thy days, and let not thy will be set to sin, or to transgress his commandments. Do uprightly all thy life long, and follow not the ways of unrighteousness. For if thou deal truly, thy doings shall prosperously succeed to thee, and to all them that live justly. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 13. That correction is going to make straight paths for your feet, your desires, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way. So those that's not going to get the correction, that's dumb and lame, be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. So we know we can only be healed if we're corrected. They correct that problem that needs to be healed. Second Ezra chapter 3, verse 8 through 9, 11, 13 through 15, and 23 through 27. And every people walked after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments. And again in process of time thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwelt in the world, and destroyest them. Verse 11. Nevertheless, one of them thou left, namely Noah, with his household, of whom came all righteous men. Verse 13. Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. So I'm showing here all the men that found the correction, and they wasn't destroyed, but they lived through the Spirit and through that faith to produce more fruits, more children, to become the heritage of righteousness of Jehovah, of Israel. Verse 14, in him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. Verse 23, so the times passed away, and the years were brought to an end. Then didst thou raise up thee up a servant called David, the beloved, whom thou commandest to build a city unto thy name, thy way, and to offer incense and oblations unto thee therein. When this was done many years, then they that inhabited the city forsook thee. So here comes when we need the correction again. When we became wild. And in all things did even as Adam and all his generations had done, for they also had a wicked heart. And so thou gavest thy city over into the hands of thy enemies. So we see, after we lost that correction, we was destroyed. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 1 through 3, and 12 through 13, and 16. Love righteousness, ye that be judges, teachers of the earth. Think of the Creator with a good heart, and in simplicity of heart seek him. For he will be found of them that tempt him not, and showeth himself unto such as do not distrust him. For forward thoughts separate from Yahweh, and his power, when it is tried, reproveth the unwise. Verse 12. Seek not death in the era of your life, and pull not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your hands. For Yahweh made not death, neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living. Verse 16. But ungodly men with their works and words called it to them. For when they thought to have it their friend, they consumed to naught and made a covenant with it, because they are worthy to take part with it. So you see, just like the same people that's being ungodly, they 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 took the words of Jehovah for naught, but they also consumed to naught because they had no substance. They didn't have the Spirit of God in them. They didn't have the word, but they made a covenant with it, and that was the covenant of death, because they didn't have life in them. They chose not to. They chose not to hearken to the Spirit of life. So the Spirit of life wasn't in them, Christ, Jehovah. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, verse 1 through 4, 17 through 19, and 23 through 27. For thine incorruptible spirit is in all things. Therefore chastenest thou them by little and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance, wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness they may believe on thee, O Creator. For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy holy land, whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices. Verse 17. For when men will not believe that thou art of a full power, thou showest thy strength. And among them that know it, thou makest their boldness manifest. But thou, mastering thy power, judgest with equity, and orderest us with great favor. For thou mayest use power when thou wilt. But by such works hast thou taught thy people that the just man should be merciful, and hast made thy children to be of a good hope, that thou givest repentance, remembrance for sins. Verse 23. Wherefore, whereas men have lived dissolutely, and unrighteously, thou hast tormented them with their own abominations. For they went astray very far in the ways of error, and held them for gods, which even among the beasts of their enemies were despised, being deceived as children of no understanding. Therefore unto them as to children without the use of reason, thou didst send a judgment, teachings, and doctrines to mock them. But they that would not be reformed by that correction, wherein he dallied with them, shall feel a judgment worthy of God, of Yahweh. For look, for what things they grudged when they were punished, that is, for them whom they thought to be gods, now being punished in them, when they saw it, they acknowledged him to be the true guide, whom before they denied to know, and therefore came extreme damnation upon them. Acts chapter 17, verse 22 through 31. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, To the unknown God, whom therefore ye ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you. God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is creator of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands, neither is worship with men's hands, as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath in all things, and hath made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and hath determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek the Creator, if haply they might feel after him and find him, though he be not far from every one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. For as much then as we are the offspring of Yahweh, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold, unto men or silver, women or stone, graven by art and men's device. And the times of this ignorance Yahweh winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent, remember and get that correction. Remember those old paths, those old ways, because he hath appointed a day in the which he will judge, teach the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained, whereof he hath given assurance unto all men, and that he hath raised him from the dead. So he's going to condemn that flesh. Condemn the flesh and live in the spirit and give us the correction of the spirit. Romans chapter 10, verse 13 through 15 and 17 through 18. And we were all like those men on Mars Hills, not knowing who God is, worshiping idols. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Creator shall be saved. So we was in the midst of destruction and we had no Savior. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet, the desire of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. Verse 17. So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of Yahweh. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and all their words unto the ends of the world. Proverbs 8, verse 4 through 10 and 14. Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. Hear, for I will speak of an excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing forward or perverse in them. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge. Receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. Verse 14. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. And this is the spirit that we must hearken to get that correction. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 19 through 20. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with Yahweh. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. And again, the Creator knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. So if you think you wise in this world, you need that correction, because you in vanity, and you're abominable because you lean to your own understanding and you have no trust in the Spirit of God to guide you. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 1 through 5, verse 8, 10, and 12 through 13. And these are the last scripts for the teaching. Find correction before destruction. And you have he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, where in times past you walked according to the course of this world. So we know from 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 19, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with Yahweh. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. So we were in times past walking in our own craftiness, according to the prince of the power of the air. So we thought Satan was God, because we were deceived. We were caught in that flood, being destroyed for the lack of knowledge, the lack of spirit in us, the lack of wisdom in us. But once we found that correction, then we could turn and do the works of remembrance and seek and search out the book of remembrance more and more and get that strength, which he said he is strength. He have strength to give us that gift. So go back to verse 2, where in times past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, those sons of perdition, among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, in our own imaginations, leaning unto our own thoughts, and were by nature the children of wrath, because we had no peace in us, even as others, those that's in the world. But Yahweh, who is rich in mercy, for his great love promise wherewith he promised us, even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Christ, the Spirit of Jehovah, the Spirit of wisdom. By grace ye are saved. For by grace are ye saved. Verse 8, I'm sorry. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of Yahweh. Verse 10, for we are his workmanship, created in the anointed way of salvation, unto good works, which Yahweh hath before ordained that we should walk in them. Verse 12, that at that time you were without Christ, without the Spirit, without wisdom, being destroyed for the lack of knowledge, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. So we were, you were once Gentiles, carried away unto dumb idols, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without Yahweh in the world. But now in the anointed way of salvation, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the lifestyle, the truth of Christ, the anointed way of wisdom. And I hope that we got the knowledge and the understanding from this teaching, that we all must get correction. We must all clean up our houses and get the correction needed to get out of destruction and to come into his peaceable habitation. And I want to say shalom.